already here. It ain't even 7 a.m. It's 6:30, and shit woke me up out my sleep. I couldn't sleep. I gotta go to the office and kick this shit off. This shit gonna be major. This probably gonna be one of my more epic live streams. Good morning to everybody who's tuning in. Make sure y'all share this. We definitely gonna be here over an hour. And make sure you go get a copy of this book, because this book is about my interviews with Ears to Christ from DC, which is relevant to this whole topic, and Sean Branch and Kurt Bone, who is Rayful Edmund's co-defendant. But I had my mind was flooded last night. I was door dashing, and I'm driving, so I'm by myself at the time, and my mind just got flooded with a bunch of information, and I was asking myself, where is this shit coming from? It started to spill out. Brandon Terrell and Big Head Gary and the Roy Cobb, and I'm like, man, where is this shit coming from? I'm like, I had to do a video or a documentary piece on it, but I didn't. I'm like, man, you wrote this shit somewhere, and it hit me. Boom. It's the shit that I wrote in this book. It's all coming back, and I'm like, damn, man. So I started. Y'all see, I'm getting a little excited. I started to think back, and while this is going on, I started getting some text messages and DMs. From some chicks in DC. You got to know that as long as I was running through D.C., I had my pop-up shop in D.C., when I introduced the Dribble God Blow G and all that. 2 locations we did out there. And you got to know when I was running through D.C. like that, I was going to meet some females and shit, right? I'm running through there. I'm being seen with very high-profile people out there. Sean Branch, Kurt Bone, Kareem Mowat, twin. I even got Shorty Pop's son, Pop Legendary. He on PILLMATIC too. He on my album. So, running through DC and establishing my internet identity out there, I met some females and shit, right? Boom. I was getting messages last night from some females I haven't heard from in a while, and they was like, yo, I seen that live stream that you did about Rayful. That was really good. That was really good content or whatever and shit. And they wanted to talk to me about him. They was like, man, Rayful was that nigga. You know what I'm saying? They was like, Rayful was that nigga, man. He put my homegirl through, medical school, and he put my homeboy through law school, and like he was paying college tuitions and shit like that. He was very, very charitable. He's like a Robin Hood type motherfucker. This is what they tell him. Taking y'all to the office right now. Y'all getting the whole experience with me. In the parking garage right now. Shit. About to start my day. I got my gym bag in the back seat. I'm gonna go straight to the gym from here, but I had to be in the lab this morning because like you got what these people want. You need to get up and give these people what they want. You kind of like being, let's say I was pussyfooting around the topic, trying not to offend anybody, and I'm still trying not to offend anybody, right? Still trying not to offend anybody. But yeah, let's just say I was being delicate. yesterday, you know. All right, so boom. Chicks was messaging me, man. They was like, man, Rayful was that nigga, man. Like, just, and it made me think back to the documentary. I had totally forgot that I interviewed Kurt Frazier. I forgot, like, because of that video yesterday, all of my DC related content popped up in the algorithm. As soon as I open up my computer, it's all right there. And I'm like, damn, I forgot that I even interviewed Kurt Frazier. I met him, took pictures with him when I did the Exchange and Jewels show. That's Kurt Bones podcast. Shout out to Kurt Bones. Talking about you this morning, Kurt. Talking about all y'all. So if y'all buckle up. But anyway, I started to think about that documentary. Goddamn. The Rayful Edmund documentary by Kurt Frazier is the best street documentary of all of them. All of them. It's better than it's better than the Alpo joint. It's better than the Paid in Full shit. Bear with me, y'all. I got a lot of shit in my hands. It's better than the Alpo joint. It's better than Paid in Full. It's better than all the Troy Reed joints. It's levels to doing cinema, and when you watch that Rayful Edmund documentary by Kurt Frazier, you know that it's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? And Kurt Frazier went to school for cinema. He went to Howard. He went to Howard for cinema, for filmmaking and shit. And when you see that documentary, they have reenactments and everything. It was reenacted. The guy that played Rayful Edmund in the documentary, his name is Middleton. He's actually a basketball player and shit. He's a point guard, crazy handle. And that was one of the things I used to make my way around DC. I had an edge and shit, you know what I'm saying? I had my platform, of course, is hip hop, sports, and fashion. And I was interviewing them basketball niggas first. Victor Page, Mike Gill, shout out to Gill, my man. And as I'm interviewing them basketball niggas, they telling me, they giving me details on what's going on, with the streets, underworld shit. They giving me details. See, I'm in the office building. I'm about to go to my office in a minute, but I had to stop up here and shit and get this key. They giving me details. So the basketball, that was my edge. That's how I was able to be accepted in D.C. because I didn't really come there for the gangster content. I didn't come there for that. I came there for the basketball shit, and it just kind of opened itself up to me. Now, first street player that I interviewed from D.C. was Ears to Christ. Shout out to Ears. I ain't heard from him in some years. I know he went back to jail for a minute. He's probably free again. But the first person that I interviewed on the street shit was Ears. Ears was the one who started talking all that street shit on my platform about Alpo, Andre Tank Johnson, Rayful Edmund, of course. And through Ears, everything just opened up to me. The first time that people seen a picture of Big Head Gary, it was a picture that I posted on Instagram. I got that picture from Ears to Christ. All right. I made it to the office. We about to get busy. It was a picture that I got from Ears to Christ. When I interviewed Ears is the one that told me everything. He the one that opened up DC to the internet. Before Ears to Christ, Them niggas wasn't talking. Them niggas didn't talk. They still don't talk much. You know what I'm saying? But ears to Christ, he cracked the surface, right? He the first one. And I remember when I first started going down there, them niggas didn't talk much. Like, it took a while for them to open up to me. When I first interviewed Ears, I was scared of Ears. I didn't want to be around. I didn't even go to DC to interview Ears. As a matter of fact, I interviewed Ears in Harrisburg, PA. Which is right down there on the Pennsylvania Maryland border. So it was probably like an hour from DC. He was able to meet me. But I wasn't going to DC because at this time, my perception of DC and my understanding of DC is what I hear from niggas who coming home from the penitentiary with them niggas. Like, them niggas is dangerous. Niggas is dangerous. They killers. Them niggas is rowdy as hell. Them niggas is lawless. So I interviewed Ears. Took my time with him. A lot of the stuff, the information that he shared, I didn't know that he was going to say it. All right, I done made it. I got on my Hugo Boss joint. I also got this from DC. Interviewing Ears, it just blew the top off of DC. It made everybody look at me. It made the whole district, the federal system, take notice of Gully TV. And it was such a big fucking deal. Ears was name dropping. He was saying names and shit like that. And the names that he said in my interview, I, of course, pursued them. Now, mind you, I got people from DC who follow me, and they kind of directed me and point me in directions and telling me who's who. And I can't even remember how I met Kurt Bone. It's been such a long time. I really can't remember, but I believe I found him on Instagram because he has a clothing line called All Days. You know what I'm saying? Matthew, suck a dick. Get you the fuck up out of here. Kurt Bone has a clothing line called All Days. So, boom, I met him. I immediately recognized him, and I remember him from the Rayful Edmund documentary, of course. Right? And I know that the big topic at this time is Wayne Perry and Rayful Edmund. These dudes was not trying to talk about them niggas at all. They weren't. Nobody talked except for Ears and shit. But I met Kurt Bone, and in order for me and Kurt Bone to have a conversation, it started about the Kirk Frazier documentary, and then it turned to fashion. We talked fashion. That's something that I used as a conversation piece for all of these gentlemen. All of these guys that I interviewed in this book, they all older than me. And, you know, of course, my platform, Hip Hop, Sports, and Fashion, they got the old pictures. And the pictures that they have, they was wearing the Sergio Tech in the 80s and, you know, the Gucci shit in the 80s. And DC is just crazy with the fashion. So my relationship with the DC guys, it was fueled by fashion. Boom. When I interviewed Ears started talking about, of course, Alpo, who, you know, he felt had something to do with killing his man, Andre Tank Johnson. And it was about a beef about a girl, I believe her name was Caprice. I have to do my thing, y'all. You know what I mean? If somebody's name is mentioned, pardon me. I'm making sure I include all of the details. But Andre Tank Johnson, according to Ears, something happened to him at the hands of Alpo and Gary. And I remember telling
when he told me that Gary was involved and shit like that, there was nobody knew what Gary looked like. Nobody knew what he looked like, and I was telling Ears, we just did this interview. I'm gonna need some pictures for this interview. I told him, I said, if you can get a picture of Big Head Gary, this shit is gonna go up because nobody has ever seen the nigga who killed Rich Porter. Within 24 hours, he hit me back. He like, yo, I got a picture of Gary. I'm about to send it to you right now. That's that picture. It's two pictures of him on the internet. One of them he has on black, and he don't got no hat on, light-skinned nigga. That's the original picture that was presented to me by Ears to Christ. I posted that picture to the internet. Everybody got it now. And then there was another picture that came out later on of him with some Fila shit. I believe that was posted by DC Decades, Instagram page. Shout out to them. So boom, through Ears, I got a good part of the history of Washington, D.C., right? And Ears, and between Ears, my interview with Ears and my dialogue online, more information became available to me. A person one of Wayne Perry's victims' family members, sent me Wayne Perry's case, sent me the whole affidavit, the whole, I'm the first person to present that, the whole affidavit. He like, this nigga killed my cousin. Here's these documents. These probably can help you on what you're doing. Boom. So, after that, I interviewed the federal agent, Jerry. Her name is Miss Jerry something, but it's on this channel. She was the one who was interviewing Dan O'Reilly, the federal agent who said that Wayne Perry had the boyfriend and shit like that. Y'all just gotta bear with me because I'm trying to empty the clip on this shit. Anyway, the information that I was getting from Ears and shit was kind of like filling in the details, and I would go back and I would watch the Rayful Edmund documentary by Kurt Frazier. Make sure y'all go check out the interview that I did with Kurt Frazier. It's on this channel. Just Google search Gully TV Kurt Frazier. And watching that interview, watching that DVD, you get to see the magnitude of Rayful Edmund. The BMF thing came to the internet right after the BMF thing. The BMF thing came to the internet right after the Rayful Edmund documentary. I sold that documentary. I bought it in the streets first, and I ended up having a store some years after that, but I sold that. I was one of the people that was an incredible bootleg. I know Kurt Bone and Kurt Frazier made a lot of money from that joint, but a lot of money was made in the streets from that DVD. That DVD is back because he's home now. People's watching that shit again. That DVD came out right as BMF is going to jail. Let's say that DVD was around 2005, when it was really, really in the streets. 2005, yeah, around 2005, let's say 2006. 2005, that documentary was out. I was thinking about it last night. When that documentary came out, there wasn't a piece of media known to man bigger than that documentary. The Rayful Edmund story. There was not a black movie. That documentary trumped movies. That not New Jack City, not Boys in the Hood, not King of New York. It was nothing in a CD case, a DVD case that could trump that. I remember just watching that shit over and over and over and over. Girls that was around me at the time, they was watching it. Just everybody was watching that shit. That was something that had crazy replay value. And I see a lot of people saying that he's home now, they're gonna do a movie and shit and da-da-da-da. The movie done already been done. Kurt Frazier did the fucking movie, him and Kurt Bone. Watching that movie and the way that it was put together, let's say that Rayful Edmund, the image and the name, the image, the legacy that Big Meech ended up getting. Let's say Rayful Edmund was the first Big Meech. Basically, he was. Um, I'm not comparing them to or nothing like that, but the title of this video is that Rayful Edmund is God in DC. I'm paying attention to, I'm getting a lot of messages, DMs and shit. Everybody got, something that they want to say to me about this shit. And I had a chance to think about this overnight. Them niggas is glad that he's home. I find it hard to believe that, because if they did a documentary about him in 2005, nobody was considering the rat factor. Nobody was considering the snitch factor or nothing like that, because there was already a whole movie documentary was already put out on him in 2005, and it's classic already. So that tells you right there. Some people might some people might come along and say, "Yo, they glorifying the rat." Da, da, da. He been got glorified. He got glorified in 2005 when that documentary came out. Getting back to that documentary, the way that documentary was put together, and the music, the sound effects, it just had you charged up. And I remember burning my DVDs. I was selling Gully TV. I was Gully TV DVD during this time. I remember being in the crib, burning my DVDs. I got the DVD towers and shit, the same ones that I burnt that Rayful Edmund documentary on. I'm pressing my own DVDs out, and my frame of mind is turning into the Rayful Edmund frame of mind. Like all of these bricks that this nigga went, and when he met Melvin Butler and all of them niggas, that shit fueled me. That shit just had me like punch drunk. And the story will have you punch drunk. If you know the story, it's off the charts. It's off the charts. I interviewed Kurt Bone. I asked him, I even posted a picture of him being 19 years old and being in Vegas the night that they met Melvin Butler and them niggas. They met them niggas because they was fresh. Everybody was going to the Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard fight. I believe that it was Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, or Hagler Hearns. Nah, it was Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns fight or something like that. All of it, you seen this same fight in the BMF story, in the everybody's drug story. Everybody was at that fucking fight, but it was definitely in the BMF story too. The Chambers brothers, like everybody was at that fight. All of the drug boys. They seen them Cali niggas seen them niggas. Them niggas young. Them niggas out there flossing. Them niggas Gucci the fuck up. You know what I mean? Got jewelry on. Them niggas flossing. The plug. They like, man, who the fuck is them niggas? Who the fuck is them niggas right there? Where y'all from? Niggas from DC. That's how he got plugged up. You know what I'm saying? And just that right there, the story, it just, when he came back with the work, and you watching a documentary and you seen how he put people on salary and shit. They wasn't working packs. They was working salary. You know what I mean? They was getting $1,000 a week. Imagine running a block, right? Or several blocks. And at the end of the week, you tell everybody that's been pumping on that block all week, y'all line up. And you just pass out $1,000 to everybody. 60, 70 motherfuckers. You get them all $1,000 and shit. You doing this every week. You're feeding the fucking neighborhood. You're feeding the fucking ghetto and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're feeding motherfuckers. You are the source of hope for people who don't have anything. This man is a fucking hero to many people, and him coming home right now, and based on what I've seen on that documentary, this nigga's like God in DC. He is. There's people that might come here and disagree with me and shit like that, and that's cool. But I'm telling you, based on the information and the facts and the shit that I saw, not only on that documentary, but on that Barbara Walters interview. I was living in Norfolk, Virginia. I was in the sixth grade in 1987, 88. I remember his name ringing in Norfolk way back then. And then I remember when that story came on 2020, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was the first time that I seen like a super kingpin. You know what I mean? And I'm living in the I'm from 17th and Germany, Erie. That's the project. Then I'm staying in the Point Terrace in Norfolk, Virginia. They call it the Hole. This is a notorious project. So I'm going back and forth to school and shit. Like the hustlers is out there all day, every day. The New York niggas is down there getting money, and the local niggas from Norfolk is down there getting money too. I'm seeing these guys every day and shit, right? When you seen Rayful Edmund on 2020, because yeah, I believe it was 2020. When you seen that shit, I remember going to school the next day and everybody was talking about it and shit. This is in the era when cable TV wasn't all that. It wasn't the way it is now when everybody got cable TV or you got all these channels to watch. We were staying with my aunt, and she was getting high at the time. We had one TV in the crib, just a few local channels. I don't recall ever being engaged in or stuck watching anything on TV back in the day like that. This is when you know I'm a shorty. This is when grown folks they govern the TV. Like if your mom watching Dynasty, and that's what my mom watched, Dynasty, Falcon Crest, and shit like that. You just had to sit there and pout while they watched that shit, whatever they was watching, the stories. You just had to sit there and pout. But when that Rayful Edmund shit came on TV, everybody in the house was watching that shit. And I remember looking at that shit like, damn. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. He was young, and they were showing his cars and his jewelry and that picture of him with the tuxedo that they still show to this day. They showed that in 88 or 88, 89, 88, year it was. They showed that way back then. And I was like, God damn. You know what I'm saying? And to grow up and as a young adult watch this documentary, I remember how that shit made me feel. I could imagine how that shit made niggas feel who lived in DC, who got a chance to see them niggas every day. But I looked through my interviews and I interviewed one of the basketball players I interviewed. His name is Mike Gill. It's on his channel. You can look it up. He talk about the day I interviewed him. He was standing on Fifth in Florida, some shit like that. But wherever I interviewed him at, he like this is Rayful land right here. Them niggas is out here. You know what I mean? 30 years ago, they was right where we standing. They was driving through here like Rayful was throwing money out the window, and I seen that this morning, and I went and looked at the Kurt Frazier interview, and the messages that I got overnight, especially from them chicks from DC, this nigga is larger than life. He is. He is. Again, you're gonna have some people say certain things. You're gonna have some people say some things, right? Them niggas who was his co-defendants, Tony Lewis, whoever who was on that case, even Kurt Bone, them niggas is glad that man is home. That's they homeboy. That's they homeboy. They was kids. They was eating like a motherfucker. He had a lot to do with it. He probably was the catalyst. But this is the same nigga from the documentary that Kurt Bone said, I remember going to the Bullets game and Rayful was in there with one of the Bullets players' bitch. You know what I'm saying? He said it might have been Moses Malone or somebody, but this is a sci-fi movie and shit. And now that the nigga is home, you're gonna get everybody's gonna get a whole lot of it. I had to get up early and give this to y'all because it was voices in my subconscious telling me, Jamil, everything that these people want, you need to give it to them, and you have it. You have it. I want to connect some dots for y'all, and a lot of this shit that I'm about to say is contained within this book. Alpo said when he met Big Head Gary, Gary was a millionaire. Gary was up. He said he had lots of money. According to ears, according to the documents that I had, court cases that I read, articles that I had about Roy Cobb and the Trinidad guys, Brandon Terrell, that was Big Head Gary's brother. He was killed by a young man named Nut. I'm pretty sure he's home now, been home for some time. He was killed by him. And in order to appease things between the two factions, it was suggested that Gary, the surviving brother, be compensated for his brother being killed. And he was given some bricks. So by the time Alpo got to D.C., Rayful was going to jail. Them bricks, them initial bricks that Gary got, he pumped them and became who he was and shit. All of this shit just flooded my mind, and I'm like, why do you know so much about this shit? And I had forgot that I wrote about it. That's Ears to Christ right there. This is the catalyst for everything that you're seeing. This is the catalyst. That's Ears to Christ. This is Twin. That's Kareem Mowat. And who else is on here? That's Sean Branch right there. There's a picture online that's been online for some years, and it's a picture of Sean Branch visiting Rayful Edmund in the penitentiary as a youngin'. You could tell that he's young, he's dressed young, he got on a black collared sweatshirt, he looks young in the face, he probably was a teenager and shit. This is another testament of this man's prestige and relevance in Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? He said, Gully, what it do in D.C.? I was fortunate enough to be chosen as a media outlet that I cracked D.C. I did. I cracked D.C. Before Gully TV, DC's business, DC's history was not aired online. It wasn't. I believe that I seen Ears to Christ did an interview in Don Diva magazine or something like that. And I just felt that my line of questioning would be a little bit more thorough because I felt that I knew, I kind of knew the history, and I definitely knew the questions I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask him about Alpo, Wayne Perry, and Rayful Edmund. And, you know, Ears is the one that for many years was calling him. Ears was calling everybody a rat. Alpo the rat, Rayful the rat. All of that shit came from one interview. I remember when I first started to go around them, they were very, very quiet. They was very, very serious. And I didn't force any questioning. That my relationship with a lot of them, it just started by fashion, I'm telling you. I remember the first time that I went there and set up some interviews, I had Pop Legendary, that Shorty Pop's son. Kurt Bone and Kareem Mowat from First and Kennedy all come to the hotel. We was all there at once. And I remember how serious this was. I wasn't sure whether it was cool for me to put all of these guys in the same place at the same time. I didn't know if they had issues, whether they got along with each other, but it seemed to go well that day. Everybody shook hands, showed each other respect. And I remember after I posted the pictures, people started to hit me up and was like, yo, them is some serious niggas that you around, man. Like, are you sure that you know what the fuck you doing around them niggas? Like, them is some serious fucking niggas that you fucking with. You know what I'm saying? There's some serious niggas that you fucking with, man. And during this time, I would always try to get Kurt Bone to talk about Rayful Edmund, who's his co-defendant. And he wouldn't talk about it. He wasn't coming off that shit. He wasn't trying to touch that at all. He wasn't trying to touch it at all. But as our relationship developed, he would talk to me more, but he wouldn't talk to me about that. I believe that now that he's home, there's nothing else to do but monetize the story in that period of time on the highest level. Straight up. He said the streets used to have a code, rule number 1. He said, pack your bags, they're going to call you back. I believe, I thought about this morning. If I wanted to send a direct message to him, to Rayful Edmund, I can get it to him. I could, because I know who to ask. I know who to tell him, yo, this whole topic and this whole period of time, if you interested in this shit any further, you can go to therealdribble.com and you can get this book. And in this book is Ears to Christ breaking down the war with Trinidad. The war with Trinidad, that was contained within the documentary, within the Rayful Edmund story. They had a beef with some guys from Trinidad. A lot of people was getting put down, a lot of bloodshed. It was kind of fucking up the city. They was at war, and they met in a schoolyard. They met at a school, at a playground, and it was mediated by Michael Frey, who was an OG. He was a little bit older than those guys, and he was able to, create a peace treaty between the two groups while having interactions with Ears. Ears would tell me, like, I'm from Trinidad. We ain't scared of no fucking body, man. Fuck Wayne. He called him WP. Fuck WP. I'm from Trinidad. I come up under the cobs. I'm like, who was the Cobbs? Who was the Cobb? He was like, ask somebody about him. Roy and Cliff Cobb. Them was some heavy dudes and shit. And I think they probably was like hustler muscle extortionist type shit. Whatever the case, they were some older niggas and they didn't fuck around. But Brandon Terrell, who was Big Head Gary's brother, he had this thing, according to Ears and the information in his book, where he wanted to impress the Cobbs. Whenever he was around the Cobbs, he was buck wild, but a lot of it was to impress the Cobbs and shit. And he probably got a little bit aggressive with Rayful at this club called the Chapter 3, and he got put down by a guy named Nut. There was another incident in a barber shop where the Trinidad guys, or maybe even Gary, I can't remember, it's in this book though, came to retaliate, and they shot Nut, if I'm not mistaken. But when they came to this barbershop to do this work, Rayful was there. They said he was there. He had a newspaper in front of his face, and they'd never seen him. All of this information is gonna resurface all of this week, and I can't stress enough how big this dude is and shit. Like my prior video, I was kind of like sugarcoating it a little bit, but this shit, he's bigger than Alpo. His story is bigger than Alpo. It is. It is. He had more money than Alpo. He had an incident where he was hanging out with Alonzo Mourning from the Georgetown Hoyas. Coach John Thompson had to approach him. There's so many details and layers to this guy's story. He used to be a basketball player. All of this shit is going to resurface. And again, I don't think that after I gave it some thought, I believe probably 80% of people in D.C. is happy that he's home. Like, this ain't the Alpo situation where people wanted him dead because of what happened to Rich. There was people that was probably harmed during his reign, but he wasn't doing it. Nobody ever said that Rayful Edmund was a killer or nothing like that. They said that he was a player, he was a hustler, and he was a provider, like a Robin Hood type motherfucker and shit like that. And yes, he was God in D.C. There hasn't been a legend, not even close, since. You know what I'm saying? E-Dot Saga says he's taken that interview to Vlad and he followed it up with 3 laughing emojis. It don't matter where he take his interview, right? My channel is gonna go buck wild whenever that nigga name is mentioned. You know why? Because I went to DC and I cracked that cherry and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, it really don't even matter. I got 4 Kurt Bone interviews on this channel. I got the only Kirk Frazier interview online and shit. Kirk Frazier did the documentary on his life. And I got on here this morning to make sure that I solidify my position in this shit before it go crazy, before it go bonkers and shit. I made sure I got on here to remind everybody who set this shit off. Before me, it was no media in D.C. It was no D.C. stories. The Safe Streets Task Force, I did that. The federal agent Jerry Williams, I did that. Michael Gill, I did that. Sean Branch, I did that. Kurt Bone, before he went to Vlad, before Sean Branch went to Vlad, they was here, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? So it don't matter what happened and shit. You know what I mean? It's like I got publishing on certain topics. Like just last week, it was Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack was a big topic, and everybody was talking about. Yeah, Victor Page too. Angie Wiz. Just last week, it was Haitian Jack. I got like 35 Haitian Jack videos and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it don't matter what happened. And like I said, if I want to attach myself to that situation, I can make a call right now, direct, and say, I want to talk to homeboy and shit. I want to talk to homeboy, and you know what they going to say to him? This is Gully TV. We all talked to him. Sean talked to him. He covered the Lorton. He covered the premiere of the Lorton documentary. He interviewed Greg Jones. Not only that, Clarence Bootney Green, that's his name, right? Who played at Cheney University. He hung with my homeboys at Cheney. You know what I'm saying? I got so many credentials that have put me in the fucking room with the nigga if I desired that. Straight like that. Clarence Green went to fucking Cheney University with my homeboys, Kurt Barney and Steve Spearman and Sharice and all of them niggas from 17th Street Projects. Clarence Green was in my neighborhood before, in Erie, Pennsylvania. Clarence Green was a basketball player. He played against my man, Mike Jones, from 17th Street Projects. He was dating a chick from Erie, Pennsylvania. You did? So, like I said, if I wanted to get up on a nigga, it ain't really, really hard. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all talk to him. That's what they gonna tell him. Yo, who is he, Slim? Oh shit, we all did an interview with him. Kurt, Twin, Victor Page, Sean rode him around the projects in Montana Terrace in a Rolls Royce. That's Gully TV. So don't ever forget that. You know what I mean? Don't ever forget that. The book is called Some Things I've Been Through. You can get a copy of this on my website, therealdribble.com. You can get the autographed copy, or you can get it from Amazon. This shit got a 5-star review. I had to ask myself, why is this shit bouncing around in my mind like this? Like, I had to really be close to this shit. And then it hit me. Ears to Christ. Ears to Christ. It was ears. It was ears. It was all the conversations we had. It was everything that I wrote in this book. It was all of the court cases that I read. All of that. Some of you might ask, why didn't Rayful have a problem out of Wayne Perry? I'm almost certain that them niggas is cousins and shit like that. Yeah. The name of the book is Some Things I've Been Through, y'all. It's on my website, therealdribble.com. You can get it. I'll ship it to you this morning. Word up. He said, Ray popping out of major ears, hate Alpo. Again, they could say whatever they want about him. His reputation for telling of whatever he did, it had a lot to do with the case that he caught at Lewisburg. Well, it's entirely tied to the case that he caught in Lewisburg on them fucking phones. To this day, Rayful Edmund is the reason that the federal system, they only allow 15-minute phone calls. That had a lot to do with him. He changed the phone system in the federal system. He changed the way that they operated the phones in the federal system because of the way he dominated that fucking phone and continued to run that drug organization. He said, yeah, they are cousins. My man said, early in the morning, barely woke and listened to Gully and them subscribers steady soaring. Y'all need to be tapped in with a YouTube channel that got some credibility and shit. Like I said, it woke me up out my sleep. I got up at 5. I'm like, man, I gotta go to the office and I have to speak to these people direct. It was a voice in my head like, Jamil, you know what you gotta do. You know what you gotta do because this shit about to get big. Like, I could have just left it alone with my first video. I could have. Just left it alone. But I said, nah. You know what I'm gonna do right now? Hold on. I should have been did this. A couple of minutes, I'm gonna open up this hotline and I'm gonna see what y'all got to say. I'm gonna see what y'all have to say, and make sure you, if you want some dope content to watch today, go watch the Rayful Edmund documentary, directed by Kirk Frazier, and make sure you watch my interview with Kirk Frazier. It's on his channel. Kirk Frazier, Gully TV. Kirk, Kirk. You can look it up, and he'll tell you some things that you want to know about Rayful Edmund because he's the one that did the documentary. Uh, I can't stress enough, man, the interest that's gonna be sparked in the industry surrounding him right now. It's up already. It's up already. Wherever that documentary is at, Amazon Prime, Kirk, they check gonna go through the roof right now. They check gonna go through the roof right now. That nigga wanted to start selling DVDs all over again. That shit up right the fuck now. Straight up. Alpo was living off old shit. He said they stole that man's money. Ray said better than ever. $100 million man is back. Um, in his prime, they said that he was responsible for 70% of the cocaine in Washington, D.C. At 22 years old, he's a millionaire a couple of times over and shit. Yeah. I seen Whack 100 last night. Somebody sent this to me. He wanted to talk about Rayful Edmund so bad. So bad. Talk about Melvin Butler, nigga. Talk about Melvin Butler. I believe them niggas told on Rayful. You always calling somebody a rat. Talk about them niggas. Talk about them niggas. Don't leave that part out. You kind of selective with who you kick dirt on. Make sure when you get to talking that crazy shit, make sure you talk about your homeboys. Make sure you talk about them niggas from Cali that told on them and shit. Don't leave that part out. Because I seen what you said last night. I seen it. Somebody sent it to me. And you was kind of like tiptoeing around it. Talk about Melvin Butler. God damn it. Don't forget that. And while we at it, somebody posted this on my Instagram page last night. We want to know where Alter Ray Zanville and Royal Brooks at. Hey, yo. We want to know where that nigga Royal Brooks is at. And Alter Ray, where you at, whore? Bring your ass on out. Yeah, we ain't forget about you motherfuckers. Where the fuck y'all at? Y'all been keeping a low profile. Royal, where the fuck you at, you rot nigga? Where the fuck you at? You and Alter Ray. Alter Ray wore a wire on his mama. Motherfuckers don't talk about that part. Rayful whole family was his co-defendants. Every goddamn body went to jail. Did you watch the documentary? His grandmama was on there. His aunt was on there crying and shit. Was like, man, they trying to take me to jail about some shit I ain't had nothing to do with. I ain't do nothing but cook this nigga food. We had a family house. Yeah. Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. The Real Gully TV. He said, Gully, don't forget shit. Nah, man, I seen that documentary. That shit was epic. That's by far, I needed to say this because this is my lane. When it comes to urban media, Troy Reed is the GOAT, right? Let's call him the godfather of this shit, the Jackie Robinson. His Street Stars line was unmatched. But when Kirk Frazier came out with the Rayful Edmund story, he just turned it up a few notches. It's by far the best documentary ever. It's better than the Freeway Ricky Ross joint. It's better than Paid in Full. It's better than the Alpo joint. It's better than the Supreme Team joint. It's better than the Larry Davis story. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying that because this is the moment I'm telling you about content. They reenacted that shit and it was just crazy. It's crazy. There's nothing like it. I'm probably gonna watch that shit again today because for some reason that shit charged me up and just made me want to be. It just made me want to be large and shit. You know what I'm saying? It did. It did. How much time did Rayful do? About 34 years. He said Ray did it bigger than all these niggas. Yeah, to my knowledge, yeah, he was the first. With people's perception of Big Meech, that was Rayful Edmund. That was Rayful Edmund in the 1980s. It was, and chronologically, the BMF story, it came out after the Rayful. The Rayful documentary came out around 2005 or something like that. BMF didn't start going to jail till like 2006 or 2007. So they wasn't even convicted when that DVD was out in the streets. And, you know, the BMF thing is tied to Jeezy, a rapper, and, you know, 50 Cent that made it a TV show and shit like that. But when this nigga shit pop off, when his biopic pop off, it ain't gonna be nothing like it. It ain't. It's too many dimensions. It's crazy. It is. He said the Edmonds family is deep. He said Ray had that bust down on a 2020 interview. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I could take some calls right now. I want to hear from y'all this morning before I get up off here. I told y'all I'd be here over an hour. Moderators, put the number in the chat, 646-592-7850. Let's get it on. $9 million a year. Big Meech couldn't see Ray till this day. I wasn't, you know, trying to scream or nothing like that. I am in an office building. I got neighbors and shit like that. I like Ray because he's smart. I appreciate the intelligence no matter the crime, except for the kids stuff, of course. Yeah. I made a song about Rayful Edmund 15 years ago on YouTube. My views on that song been going up. I'm happy the OG is free. Okay. How long did he hustle for? I can't remember how long them niggas is on the streets. The rain on the streets and the impending sentence is never an equivalent of shit. So it don't matter how long he was home. He just gave them people 35 years of his life. The title of this video is the Rayful Edmund is God in D.C. He is. And the women still love him and shit. Like, I got several messages. I'm like, damn, they was from all chicks. They all had something to say. They all had something to say. For real. How do you think Wayne feel? I'm gonna tell you how I feel the rest of the district feel. If Wayne, and it's probably unlikely, can find a way out of prison through appeal, a loophole, a law, they want him home too. That'll close the chapter on that whole time period and shit. They want him home too. The same niggas that probably got love for Ray, they got love for Wayne Perry too. There's people that love Wayne Perry. He was killing motherfuckers. Yes, he was. There's people that revere him. It is, and Wayne didn't tell on anybody, so I know for a fact that they hold him in a high regard. Silk, they call him. And he's a cousin of Rayful. Rayful probably want his cousin free too. So you wanted him to stay in jail. He did 30-some years, wasn't enough. I don't know who you posing that question to. I wasn't there when he caught the case. I didn't sentence him and shit like that. So, hey, the courts felt that he was in a good space to come home. Eric Holder, who had something to do with Obama's campaign, I believe, used to be the district attorney in D.C. He had a lot to do with Ray going to the penitentiary. Just wanted to put that out there. Ray took over after Cornell Jones went down. Yes, uh-oh, I got a call from DC. DC, what's up? Talk to me.
Yes, hello. How you doing, Gully? My name is Omari. I'm from DC. I'm also a writer. And I grew up. I'm 50, so I was about a young kid when Ray was running around the streets. But he was notorious. I mean, it was all over DC, as you well know. I just also wanted to thank you for your exploration and coverage of DC as a journalist.
Thank you.
Highly disciplined. The way that you rolled with respect in DC, and you know that there's a certain way you have to roll in DC.
Yeah.
I don't think people truly understand that.
I said that on my interview with Kurt Bone. I did the Exchange and Jewels show, and I explained to him how thankful I was that they allowed me as a professional to operate up there, because I was around Alpo too, and I was in contact with Alpo, and for them to allow me to come to DC and operate, nobody got upset, nobody felt any type of way, nobody tried to do anything to me and nothing like that. It just showed that they respect my coverage of the city. So
Absolutely, 100%. One thing I think that you also brought out, which is under discussed, is the political dimensions of crime in D.C. How crime in D.C. affects national policy. You discussed that in several of your podcasts, with regards to the Safe Streets Task Force and also your interview with Jerry Williams, and how this sort of latest round of people getting out is also due to that policy. And the people in D.C. sort of marshaling together to negotiate with the national politicians to affect prison reform. One other thing, though, is, D.C. at this point is totally gentrified. A lot of those areas where those people come from, is unrecognizable. Of course, there's pockets, up in Northeast, up in Trinidad, and other places, Anacostia, where people, still pretty solid. But it's a changed world. The D.C. of Marion Barry, of the Rayfuls of that era is gone. And for better or for worse, a lot of both the street level and the political leadership in the city has been decimated. And I'm hopeful that some of these returning citizens can help to revive some of that leadership. That's all I want to say.
I appreciate your call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out to DC. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get the notifications. If you don't have a copy of this book, get this. I mentioned the Safe Streets Task Force in this book. In every city, if a drug gang or a murder crew was pursued by law enforcement, it was probably spearheaded by an organization called the Safe Streets Task Force. The Safe Streets Task Force originated in Washington D.C. to combat all of the crews, the First and Kennedy crew, the Berry Farms guys, the Anacostia guys. I can't remember all these crews, but if you follow my platform, I posted the list. It was the Super Predators list is what led to the Safe Streets Task Force. That was Tommy Edelin and all of these different guys who was out there raising hell in D.C. And, of course, Wayne Perry was on there. And it's an organization that's around to this day. Every city, every state has a Safe Streets Task Force. But initially, it kicked off in Washington, D.C. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Did Demencio and Rayful have any history together? I'm not sure. I know that Sean Branch was cool with Demencio. He was around Demencio and those guys and shit. Subscribe to the channel. Call in, man. 646-592-7850. I want to hear from y'all, man. What do y'all think about God coming home to D.C.? Because that's who he is to D.C. Their history. He's the top dog. The bitches love him. He's just a superstar. They even said he was a superstar coming out of high school. I believe he went to Dunbar High School. Some niggas just got the it factor, and according to the documentary by Kurt Frazier, he had the it factor, straight like that. Was Sean Branch and Ray cool? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. That's been mentioned. That was mentioned on my platform from the mouth of Sean Branch. There's a picture that's viral on Instagram. Sean Branch got on a black college sweatshirt. I think it's Alcorn State or something. I can't remember what college it is, but it's a picture of him visiting Rayful Edmund in jail and shit. So yeah, they definitely had a relationship. When those guys see him, if they loved him when he was free, they probably gonna love him again. Tony Lewis, Kurt Bone, all of them. That's their childhood homeboy. That's their homeboy. They didn't want that nigga to die in jail. They didn't. This is the truth. This is the fucking truth. They didn't want him to die in jail. Sean Branch didn't even want him to die in jail. Like, the decisions that people make affects their lives, their personal lives and shit like that. What Rayful did, that don't affect Sean Branch. It don't affect nobody and shit. Like, everybody don't agree with what he did. I'm pretty sure the dudes that he told on, them niggas probably been out of jail. Them niggas probably been home. They might feel some type of way about it, but according to the documentary, he put bricks in the streets, and them niggas wasn't paying for that coke. You know what I'm saying? And them is the niggas that he called and set up. Don't worry about that money you owe me. I'm going to send you some more birds. But he sent a case to their ass and shit. That's my understanding of it. Word. Is Melvin Butler home? I'm quite sure he's home. Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. Melvin Middleton. What's up, G? In a prior video, I said that Whitey was one of Rayful hitters. Melvin Middleton said that was false. Said Whitey was never that type of guy, nothing like that. The way that they had him and Migo together in the first documentary, you got that impression. You got that impression. Migo, what up? We ain't never met, but you used to play basketball with my homeboy Jackie Williams in the federal system. He's from Erie, Pennsylvania. That's my nigga, left-handed. Heard y'all used to be running niggas up off that court. Yeah. Andrew Williams said a lot of them niggas ran off. Rayful was good in D.C. and the DMV. Oh, he said that Lewis and Edmond started Pig Latin. Nah, they didn't. But it's funny that you said that because that's on a documentary. It's a portion of that documentary by Kurt Frazier. You hear his mom on the wiretap. She's like, get home. He like, what's up? She said, Etta F. Bidigi Adagai is watching us. The Edgar Bidigi Adagai is watching my house. Get home. that documentary, man, they did that to death, man. They had a lot of raw audio, raw live surveillance of Hanover Place. One of the best pieces of media. Kirk Frazier, it was a pleasure to meet you on the Exchanging Jewels podcast. That's a masterpiece that you put out. If Rayful get a chance to watch it, he might have already seen it, but I'm pretty sure he gonna appreciate that and want to do it again. Oh no, Slim, we gotta do this over. I'm home now. You know what I mean? I'm home now. Oh, this is that DC bop, man. Hugo Boss and shit, man. I had to have one of these, man, after hanging out around them guys, man. Sean Branch and Kareem Mowat. This is that 80. I didn't have this before my relationship with DC. I put this on for a reason. This is that 80s DC shit, Hugo Boss. If you go watch the movie Rocky, think it's Rocky 2. When Apollo Creed, I think it's the one when Apollo got killed, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, he got a butter-ass Hugo Boss sweatshirt on, a white joint. I'm like, okay, I see you, money. Yeah. He said, is Kirk Frazier from D.C.? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He went to Howard University. He said, "That's right, champ. That's how we do it." Shout out to DC, man. I love it out there. The guys that I interviewed prior to this, this Rayful Edmund subject, I covered some content in Denver, Colorado. Halal Fine Jewelry. Those brothers are from the DC area. They from DC and the surrounding areas and shit. So make sure y'all get in tune. He said Rafe was gonna stand out in front of the camera. Dude seems very charismatic. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Subscribe to the channel, man. Call in, man. What's up, man? 646-592-7850. He said, Gully, would you sit down with Rayful and film some content? Yeah, I want to know. Let's talk about clothes, goddammit. Let's talk about clothes, man. Let's talk about that big diamond pendant that you had around your neck and them pictures and all of them Gucci sneakers and shit like that. How do you feel about they went in the clothing store in Georgetown behind you niggas and got y'all receipts? They was following them niggas to Georgetown. My homie from Trinidad, he told me about them black vans. Shout out to Trinidad. Ears to Christ. What's up, pimp? Long time no see. Kareem Mowat, twin, my man. Keep up the good work. Eon. Shout out to everybody, man, who have been a part of my journey through Washington, D.C., man. Them guys gave me great cooperation. My album, PILLMATIC 2, I got a D.C. artist on there, Pop Legendary, who was Shorty Pop's son, biological son. So, Omari West says, only the Muslims up early. People got to go to work up early. It looked like dude was trying to pull away from Ray in the video. I don't think so. Them guys hold him in a high regard. If he didn't fuck with him, he wouldn't have been there to meet him. It's been confirmed that was an airport. He's been released according to the news. This shit made world news. I got to add that. Him getting free from jail, from penitentiary, it made world news. This shit was on the news. This ain't no local, internet story, anything like that. When Alpo got out of jail, they didn't announce it on the news. They announced Rayful got out of jail on the fucking news. It was on the news. Said he's been released to the custody of Nashville, Tennessee, probably in a halfway house down there. And they said that he came home, and he wasn't under an assumed name. He came home as Rayful Edmund. This is facts. He said, yeah, it did. I seen it all over the news. 646-592-7850. Talk to the dribble. And make sure you get a copy of this book, man. Like, this will fill in the blanks. It's Ears to Christ right here. He set it off up there for me in D.C., man. He set it off in D.C. entirely, to tell you the truth. Online, he's the first person that started to do interviews. I don't even know why he did, because he didn't have a book or anything like that. I think he was trying to kick off a film. I'm going to take another caller. Yo.
How are you, bro?
Talk to me. What's up?
Yeah, this is Chris from Freeport. I got to ask you this question. How do you think Rayful Edmund is going to do when he sees Tony Lewis Sr.? Because, Tony Lewis was one of the people, unfortunately, was the recipient of Rayful Edmund's snitching. So, I never heard
that Rayful told on Tony Lewis. That's new to me.
No. The Kazar Live TV had Tony Lewis Sr. on his platform, and it said clear as day that Rayful Edmund was the person that put him in jail. So that could be wrong or whatever, because
I didn't see it myself. That's new to me. If he told on them, they probably won't be cool. That's just what it is and shit. That's the first I heard of that. When Rayful Edmund went to jail, Rayful Edmund was in general population at Lewisburg. That means he didn't tell on anybody. He would have been in fucking PC. He wouldn't have been out in population fucking with the Colombians selling dope. So I highly doubt that. I just find that I found that to be I don't know about that. I didn't see the Vlad interview myself. I never heard of him telling on Tony Lewis. I didn't know that. If he did, that's new to me. But based on the facts, he was in general population in Lewisburg. So that means when he got there, he didn't tell on anybody. He wouldn't have been in population. Lewisburg is that they was killing motherfuckers there. That's where the DC blacks and the Aryan Nation shit went up at. So
yeah, DC blacks in regards to, you know, when they were outside selling cocaine, they had a strict no snitching rule. Even if you were a civilian, even if they were selling crack on your front stoop and you wanted them to stop,
it's never been accepted. It's never been accepted.
But I gotta ask you that. If you're a civilian, right, and you just want this shit to stop, you just want your neighborhood to have a modicum of safety, why these drug dealers from DC getting that at you for, you know, wanting their blocks to be safe? I understand, I gotta feed my family, and this is one of my only ways of feeding my family efficiently. I understand that. But there was a
time, like when I was a shorty, drug blocks was regulated. You wasn't gonna be raising no hell on drug blocks. Like you wasn't gonna be shooting. You wasn't gonna be busting glass. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was regulated. It wasn't like no zoo. The shit that it became, niggas was protecting they blocks. Have you ever seen the movie New Jersey Drive? Them niggas was speeding around in them cars. Heavy D, he was acting as a drug dealer in that movie. He said, yo, man, y'all out here making all this goddamn noise. You fucking with my groove. That's what it was when I was a shorty. So I knew that era to be a little bit more regulated, where people was kind of like taking care of the neighborhood and shit like that. I got to take another call. I appreciate you calling through, pimp.
Peace.
Yeah, peace. Was Rayful Edmund documentary better than Nicky Barnes? I think so.
The documentary better than Nicky Barnes.
Talk to me. Who's calling?
The documentary better than Nicky Barnes. Talk to me. Talk. Hey, this Kenny.
This who?
It's Kenny from South Florida.
What's going on, Kenny?
About Rayful Edmund. It's Kenny from South Florida. What's going on, Kenny?
Yo, you got this. Hold on, man. He wasn't talking. My man, when you get on this line, it seemed like he was getting a little bit of kickback. You got to step away from your computer or whatever. I don't know if you watch me on a PC or your television. You got to step away from it so we don't get no kickback. But when I accept your call, man, state where you from, and let's talk about it. I got a few more minutes, and it wasn't my intention to directly hang up on you, but the connection wasn't the best. You know what I mean? And I got a show to put on. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get the notifications. Yeah, I just told him you got to turn down this TV because I was getting some kickback. Subscribe to the channel. Good morning to everybody. Talk to me. 845. Where you at? Harlem, New York, in the building. What's going on, G?
Okay, I just want to know, you think this nigga life is in danger? You think we're going to hear about, 6 months from now, something happening to him for the people that ain't really feeling him?
Yesterday, when I did my live stream, I said that I wouldn't be doing any hanging out and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that was a good idea to come back to D.C. and hang out. But overnight, I received some correspondences from a lot of people, and they telling me that he's like a hero out there, yo. Like let's say that 80% of the people they fuck with him. You know what I mean? Yes, he told. This is public information. Yes, he was in the witness protection program, but they love the nigga. The title of this video is Rayful Edmund is God in D.C. I believe that to be the truth. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. El Chapo's son just ratted on his boss. Yo, talk to me.
Hey, what's up, Gully TV?
Where you from, G?
Yeah, PG County.
Okay.
Maryland, but I lived in DC for years too. Out of Northeast.
Okay. Talk to me.
All right, so yeah, when it comes down to Rayful, you know, I know some people like some older heads that knew Ray.
Yeah.
And it's just like was brought out. You're gonna have some people that don't like what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he has more love than hate out here in the city.
That's the perception that I've gained overnight, that a lot of people love him. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, you know, Ray, he looked out for a lot of people, like you said earlier. Like he paid people's rent, mortgage. You know, like during like Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving back in like the '80s. You know what I'm saying? He gave people food. I mean, he did a lot for people.
Yeah.
I'm not glorifying what he did, but at the same time, he did a lot of good. You know what I'm saying?
That's my understanding of it. I gotta agree with you.
Yeah, he did a lot of things, you know, so, I mean, you know, I don't think he's going to make the same mistake, you know, Alpo made, being out, running around, you know, just to get some attention. You know, Rayful, yeah, he is, you know, flamboyant or whatnot, but at the same time, I mean, people got to understand, even from the documentary, I mean, people say he was like a straight-A student, like the dude is not an idiot.
Yeah. There was a portion of the documentary when he was talking about leaving the streets and going back to school and shit like that.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people that, you know, and before I can go any further, I want to give you a shout out as well, you know, for putting the city on the map on your platform, because at the end of the day, DC is one of those cities where, you know, you hear a lot about New York, you hear a lot about LA or whatnot, but DC is very, very slept on.
I agree that DC didn't get all of their proper acknowledgement, but that's more so based on the perception of DC from the outside. Like, people view DC as being dangerous. When you see a story like Benny Lee Lawson from the First and Kennedy crew, he went up in a police station and started shooting and shit. You know, he did his thing up and he killed some people. People get to looking at DC like, these are different. These niggas is different. Like, DC is the only city that I've covered that got a long, extended history of bank robberies and armored truck heists and shit like that. Like, that's a whole nother level of gangster shit.
Oh yeah, you ain't lying about that, man. You know, when I was a kid, like 9, 10 years old, we used to go to my uncle's house, you know, in Southeast. Man, 6, 7 o'clock, you see helicopters flying all around the projects, broken glass everywhere, syringes everywhere, man. I mean, you know, 90s, man, DC was nothing to mess around with. You know, like I said, I'm not, you know, glorifying it, but I mean, I'm just keeping it real. You know, DC, I mean, it's changed down a lot because it's been heavily gentrified, but there's a few pockets, you know what I'm saying, in DC that's still bad, but it's nowhere near like the 80s or the 90s.
Right. We
We
looking for things to get better for black people everywhere. I appreciate your call, pimp.
Yeah, it's all good, man. You know, take care and keep doing your thing, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Boom.
Boom. Was Rayful over Michael Frey? Michael Frey was an OG to those guys, but Rayful was the top dog in the city. I'd never heard of him having an equivalent during that time. It was some niggas that was getting plenty money. Andre Tank Johnson was getting plenty money. There was niggas that was getting money. They had to be. He was selling them bricks to some fucking body. Them niggas was knocking them packages off, but he was the king. He was. Gully, I'm from Southeast and grew up around these guys. Rayful will have to worry about the kids of the guys he ratted on. However, we live in an era where they idolize drug kingpins. I think you got an accurate assessment there. Alonzo Mourning gonna help him out. Facts. I think that's a great observation right there. That's somebody who's gonna be happy that he's home, and I'm pretty sure if he's able to help him in any way, he gonna drop it like it's hot. Alonzo Mourning from the Georgetown Hoyas. Yeah, it ain't a doubt in my mind. It ain't. It ain't a doubt in my mind. Yeah, I never thought about that aspect of it. Alonzo Mourning was in college. I've been in college before. Them niggas that's on scholarship, they can't even eat in the cafeteria and shit like that. Some of them be living off campus and shit. Like, pretty sure whatever Rayful was doing for him, it helped him out a lot while he was in school, and he probably will move to reciprocate the love that he got from him. Word. Rayful and his family didn't need the crack game. They were already big in the city. The family was major without crack. I heard his people had pills and was number runners, had the lottery and shit going on. Yep. I appreciate y'all for coming through this morning. I had to get this off. This is one of my longer live streams. I don't think I've ever been on here this long, but it was definitely warranted. Appreciate everybody that came through. He said, tough sweater. Thank you. This is a DC staple. This is old DC. I don't know if they still rocking it, but the guys from Rayful's era, they was all up in this shit. Shout out to Kurt Bone. I appreciate you and everything that you've done for me. Sean Branch, again, I appreciate you. Kareem Mowat, keep up the good work. I appreciate you. I'm about to get up out of here. Y'all have a wonderful day. I'm about to go to the gym. You watching the Real Gully TV. Peace.